DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar, and of course, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And today, the A stands for about.
Okay.
Wow.
Again.
Are the Broncos
Wow.
about trading up?
Okay, sure, I'll give it to you.
Thanks.
We go Alabama with Jahmyr Gibbs on the screen.
Yeah, you could. Or you could just go about.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs again. I'm way too deep down that rabbit hole.
Really?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I know it's not, but
Jahmyr
I've
Gibbs
thought
was
about
being
for like a
mocked
week
to the
now.
Broncos when they had their first round picks.
Exactly.
Slow your roll about saying it's not going to happen. I think you can get excited. You're probably going to be crushed, but
yeah.
I think you can reasonably get excited for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Everyone knows I am pro getting excited only to get crushed.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
Yeah, buffs.
It's just like to me, that is what sports fandom is about.
It's about having your heart broken.
It's about like getting your hopes up for something and 99% of the time not getting it.
It's very true. It's very true.
And that's okay because it's having your hopes up is fun.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, because remember when they actually did get Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, because we thought there was no chance, but then we just kept going and going. We had our hopes
Yeah.
up. This
We were
will be
all
the same thing. and
Cooped
maybe
up
it'll
in
work.
our houses for
Yeah.
COVID. I
Yeah.
was drinking whiskey. Good night. It was a good night. Yeah, so we can get our hopes up for Jahmyr Gibbs as long as you're okay with getting let down.
As long as you're okay with giving a lot to move up.
Okay, so let's start there. Where would okay, let's just start here. Do you think the Broncos could potentially trade up at all in this draft?
90 to 95% confident that they will trade up. Now,
Oh,
all
wow.
the way to the
Whoa,
all the way
clip it.
all the way to the first round, not as confident in
Okay,
that,
yeah.
but will they move up at least 5 spots, at least a little bit?
With their first pick?
With one of those first two.
Okay.
Yes.
Meaning they will pick higher than 67.
Yeah, I'm very, very confident in that.
That is awesome. That just got me excited for the draft. Thanks, Zach.
That'd be awesome. I mean, I'm not sure if I can go that high. I actually was just going through and made like my list of players, like top 75. And I was like, oh yeah, there's like 58 guys. 58 guys where if they were right there at 67, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Odds are one of them is there at like 67, 68. But if the Broncos see the board similarly, I could see how they'd say, you know what, let's just jump up there and make a move. And especially when they haven't had any real talent come in a couple years, it would make sense to try to get somebody who could be a starter here soon.
And after talking with George and Sean last week, they very much left the door wide open for them to trade up. But I'm sure every team in the NFL would like to trade up. But then you look at the history and you combine Sean Payton's just desire to move up pretty much every single draft, always make moves to move up the board. And then also just talking to people this weekend, I think it's very much believed that they are going to move up. And so I just think for so many reasons, it makes sense for them to move up. They have a list of some guys that they're willing to move up for, and I think I'm confident that it's going to be a significant move up, but very confident that at least some move is going to happen.
This is fire. I didn't know you were just going to come with fire today. Okay, so let's start to open that conversation. Why would they move up?
Because there's like 58 guys who I like. And I mean, there's like a tier above that too, where if they wanted to try to get into the first half of the second round, it does feel like they're getting like a different caliber of player than who they'd be getting at 67, like by a pretty wide margin. And if they want to move up like the 10 spots, maybe somebody drifts down there. But again, like they don't have a first or a second round pick. They didn't have a first round pick last year. They basically didn't have a second round pick because Nick Bonito, I mean, we saw how that went. And so there's just a real shortage of young guys who are really good. Why not go get one?
They would move up, in my opinion, for 2 reasons. One, to get a surefire starter, a center, a defensive lineman, something like that. Someone that they know is a day one starter, no doubt about it. Or to get a playmaker. And obviously, we're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs jumps right to the top of that list in terms of playmaker. But if you also see a very dynamic pass rusher who's a playmaker, we've seen Sean Payton trade 2 first-round picks and a future first-round pick in order to get Marcus Davenport a couple of years ago with the Saints. He values those positions. So
I think a bad move, by the way.
It was a bad move. Yes, I agree with that. It was a questionable move when they did it, and then it turned out to not be the greatest move ever on top of that. But so I think those are the 2 reasons why they move up, is a definite starter or a big-time playmaker.
I'll be honest. I don't think I can ever be that mad at a team, a coach, a GM for being aggressive to go after a guy that they really like, even if it doesn't work out. Like, I love the idea of just being like, love this guy, I want him, do what it takes to get him.
Especially when we're talking about likely the Broncos aren't going to trade next year's first in order to get into the end of this year's first round. That would blow my mind. I don't think that would be responsible either. I would feel very comfortable crushing that move if they did it, because they also don't have a second round pick next year. But what you're talking about is...
that would be terrible.
Oh, it would. We'd be sitting in this exact same position. And then who
No
knows?
more.
It'd be even worse if they had a top 5 pick next year, too.
Yep. That better not happen.
No one saw it coming this year, but you just kind of... I guess in the back of your mind, you have to have that in there. Just like, well, what if this is a really good pick? So that's why I don't think it's going to happen. So what you're talking about is the Broncos, outside of trading a big-time player like a Jerry Jeudy to get into the first round, what you're talking about draft-wise is the Broncos either trading both of their thirds this year to move up into the second, a third and a fourth to move up kind of into the end of the second, or the Broncos have obviously 2 third-round picks this year. They also have 2 third-round picks next year, so packaging one of their third-round picks this year on top of one of their third-round picks next year to move up. And to me, that's so worth it. If you stay at 67 and you like a lot of guys, or if you can make one of these moves and trade a future first or future third, a current third to move up and get a guy you love, Ryan, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing and really exciting. Okay, so now let's move to the third phase of this conversation. Who exactly would they trade up for, at least in our minds, or who would we want them to trade up for if the opportunity presented itself? And to me, it kind of sounds like we're talking about trading into the 50s.
Yeah, and the draft value chart,
maybe the 40s.
The draft value chart could get the Broncos right at about 50 if they trade both of their third round picks this year, which then you'd have to wait until the 4th round to pick again. So if you trade this year's one of these third round picks this year and one of the third round picks from next year, you can get like late 50s. So if you want to do that. So yeah, somewhere in the 50s, I think, is where you're trading, unless it's a big time trade.
And Hank says there's 58 good players in the draft.
There you go. Well, then the crazy thing about trading both those, getting the 50s, is the over the cap guys. Like, this is a while ago. This would have been like 5 or 6 years ago. They made their own draft value chart, and they took like every player drafted from 2011 to 2015. And basically the big way they evaluated how good the player was how much he made on his second contract. And so you say, like, well, that's what he's worth. But they go through and do all their like nerdy stuff to turn that into things that matter. And what they found was, like, if you were to trade 67 and 68, the value that you would get from those 2 picks is about the same as the value that you would get with pick like 12 or 13.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so then there's like the old Jimmy Johnson draft trade chart, which would say like it's worth about 50. So who knows?
Somewhere in between.
Yeah. And again, this mostly goes to show that if you trade up, you're losing a lot of value.
Well, and I was just going to say, I think that goes to the idea of darts, right? The more darts you have, the better chance you have of getting a really good player.
Exactly. And so if you trade both those picks to get up to 50, there's a good chance that you're looking at this move a few years down the line saying like, probably not worth it. But I'm on the same page where it's like, if you can go get somebody who's sick right now, I'm so bored. Please just go do it.
And then on top of that, what has Sean Payton proved throughout his career, and then especially this year with the Broncos already? He's not going to sit back and just wait for things to fall in his lap and wait for good deals to come. No, according to, I don't remember who put the report out, but the Broncos told Mike McGlinchey right when free agency started, they said, this is going to be your best offer. We made it really aggressive. They didn't tell him we're overpaying, but they overpaid for Mike McGlinchey because they didn't want any competition for him. They said, you're our guy. We're going to pay you. So that's what they did. and they got him. That's kind of like what trading up is to me. We're going to maybe overpay a little bit, but it's because we love you, and we're going to get you. We might lose some value in terms of money or draft picks. We are going to do that, and just this fascinating dynamic going on. George Paton, in his tenure as an assistant general manager with the Vikings and general manager of the Broncos, he averaged over 10 picks in every single draft, which is crazy when you think about it. Each team's given 7. He averaged over 10. Sean Payton, in his 15 years with the Saints, averaged 6 draft picks per draft. So just very different philosophies. And the Broncos only have 5 picks right now. When push comes to shove, which philosophy do we think the Broncos are going to go with? They're going to go with Sean Payton's philosophy. That's why I think that despite George Paton wanting to accumulate as many picks as possible to have those darts that he's talked about, Ryan, I just think that it's going to lean Sean Payton's way and be aggressive.
Am I crazy for remembering George Paton saying something about trading back at the combine? Like saying it was like more likely to trade back than trade up.
He probably
think
said
he did say that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
probably trying to speak it into existence.
Yeah.
Like, Sean, you hear me say that publicly?
I do think it's good that they have both those guys, though. Like, they just balance
Little
each other out
balance.
so well.
Yeah.
Like,
But-
you have George Paton, who's just like, I mean, it's the nerd approach. It's like the full-on nerd approach, which is what you expect from the guy with the massive analytics department.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's really obvious what the results are. If you trade down, you wind up with a better football team. You trade up, your football team gets worse. Then you have Sean Payton on the exact opposite saying, yeah, well, I'm smarter than the system. Like, I can outsmart your numbers.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about that. It's about me knowing who to pick, and I know who to pick.
And honestly, not in a bad way, but it's like a lack of self-control. And now that kind of sounds like bad, but I don't mean it as bad. Sean Payton approaches every season like there's no next year. We saw that with the Saints cap situation for so long. We're already seeing it with the Broncos, and it's just like I guess not a lack of self-control, but it's more so wanting to win this year and doing that.
Yep. Are they serious? Is that real in the comments about
It is.
Cale
It
McCarthy?
I believe
is.
it.
Yep. It just came down from the NHL.
God, NHL discipline system is a fucking joke.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that you get suspended. For
The
that.
whistle wasn't blown. The puck was in the air.
but it was nowhere near him. Like he
They
just
didn't
hit
know-
the
you
guy
didn't
in the
know that?
boards. But you have to know. You don't get away with. I didn't know. I didn't know where the puck was. Like, I had my eyes closed, hit that guy. Like, that's not how it works. You have to know where it is.
You got to finish the play through the whistle.
Man, it seemed like this is what was going to come down, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't. There should be some sort of precedent for a guy who has never done anything like dirty in his career.
You know, the NFL definitely takes that into account when they do their disciplines.
And the NBA just did this with Draymond, where they were like, a past history of doing this type of shit is why we're suspending him.
And does Embiid not have that history? Because what Embiid did should have
Was
got him a
worse.
suspension as well. Yeah, but if he doesn't have
Right.
that history, then I guess he gets a pass.
It's a joke. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Nuggets by 20 tonight, though.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I have actually been using I'm really superstitious. Really
Yeah.
superstitious.
Yeah, you are.
I'm of the belief that my superstitious powers are only a certain. They're only good for a certain amount. So I've been using all of my powers for the Nuggets. I'm sorry to the Avs, but
Damn.
we've got 3.
Damn.
The Nuggets need it more.
Damn. So, but you realize your powers can only go so far.
I can't.
Yeah, that's
I can't,
you're very
can't
realistic
say things
about
that
your
are actually going.
superstitions.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Strange.
So it's good. It means that you can't hurt a team too much.
No, I just I can give them a little boost.
Okay.
On a day-to-day basis, I've been using it all for the Nuggets.
Well, what happened on Friday? Or Saturday? Or
Sunday.
Sunday.
I don't control the outcomes.
But
then
don't
you
people
give
with
them the boost?
superstitions believe they do control
Yeah.
the outcomes?
No, I don't know about other people. Me, I personally
Wow.
believe that there's a butterfly effect of all things. So I can have a small impact on something, but
I see.
I can't. That doesn't change the result. You just give them a little extra juju.
That's fair. You know, Ryan, right when you came
So
in.
I put on my Lucky Nugget shirt.
Yep. And they don't need it tonight, but might as well to have some extra time off.
Yeah.
Right around the time that you came into my life. One of my
Wow.
other friends started to become very superstitious. And then my older brother, also Phil, friend of the show, also very superstitious. And it was around a time where there's, some superstitions going on. And that just drove me to being the least superstitious person
That's the most unsurprising thing about you ever.
in the world. And, I just love it. And sometimes I poke a little too far with those people.
During the Stanley Cup final last year, I think I could have been like diagnosed with something. Like I was thinking about everything I did and like how that might impact the average.
Like you start brushing your teeth on the right side, but the last time they won, it was on the left.
No, that type of shit was happening.
That's weird. That's just weird.
It's not on purpose.
It worked though. It's not weird if it works, right? Isn't that
I don't know
beer
about that.
You're
commercial?
damn right.
I don't know. There's probably some weird things that could work.
There probably are. You're right.
It's like there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. I'm sure some of them are kind of
wow, don't say
There's
that.
zero
That's
ways to
so
skin a
sa-
cat.
Yeah,
There's
there
so
you
many
go.
ways
That's
to
the
skin a
right
cat.
answer.
Chin down.
Oh my
do it from the
God,
back.
dude.
Like,
What
no,
are you
I'm-
doing?
I'm just saying, like, you could go a bunch of different ways.
We just lost several viewers.
You wouldn't do it to
yeah,
a nice
we
cat.
did. And Jose says that sounded like love from Zach, and it was love for Ryan. Yeah,
Love
did
you
sound
too,
like
bro.
love.
Okay,
and
so
love for Henry.
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
everyone needs if they're
Afterthought.
superstitious, a little stitious? A lucky golf polo.
No,
Oh.
that is very true.
I mean, look at Tiger.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, he
Very
puts on
true.
that red. He knows he's going out to kill.
Yep.
It's true.
That's what you need. Maybe yours
Yeah.
is actually a tiger print
Wow.
polo,
Yeah.
or like they have a leopard print one
Yep,
too.
yep.
You got to get it from our friends over at Pins and Aces. They have the sickest gear. But my favorite part about it is like while the designs are amazing and there's lots of crazy and cool different ones, the comfort of these polos is off the chain. Like if you're gonna wear something for 4 hours when you're out there exercising, moving around,
Yeah.
swinging, you know, a lot of chafing possibilities while you're out on the golf
Yeah.
course. Not with Pins and Aces.
Mm-hmm.
So get over there. Use the code DNVR when you make your order. You can get 15% off plus free shipping.
And when you're on the golf course, you're going to need to protect those eyes. Shady Rays probably should be the official sunglasses of being on the golf course, but it's pretty much the official sunglasses just being outside because you're going to need Shady Rays. Also, maybe get in on some extra deals over at Shady Rays because they also do ski goggles. Ski season's ending. Maybe they got some things on sale. Probably the time to check them out. Everything they've got. So cool. Polarized sunglasses. And they're giving you 50% off if you order 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays over at shadyrays.com. If you use that code DNVR, you can get 50% off. And the thing about Shady Rays, it's great quality. They look good. So many styles. And on top of that, they're already reasonably priced. And then you get 50% off. You got to check them out. So summer's coming. Check out shadyrays.com.
Also, if you want to hear more about the Avs and Cale Makar suspension, Avs are coming up right after us.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. Okay.
And the Nuggets tonight.
Yep.
Nuggets boys will be going.
Jam-packed day. Buffs show did 30,000 views yesterday.
More than that. Wasn't it like 38, I think?
I don't know. It's cooking.
Insane.
So, we didn't get to it in the first segment, so let's get to it now. Our wish list of trade-up candidates. And I think we're on the same page with at least one of these guys, maybe two. So I'm interested to see where you guys go with this.
Henry,
I mean, it's
who's your
Jahmyr
number
Gibbs
one?
is the number one, I think, for everybody.
So why do you bring up Jahmyr Gibbs? Like, do you think there's a real possibility he slips to 50?
Yeah, I do. I guess I haven't looked. I think the odds did move a little bit, but I think DraftKings had it at plus 280 for 2 running backs to go in the first round, which would say there's about a 1 in 4 chance that he's a
Bijan
first round
Robinson
pick.
is a lock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about 1 in 4 that Jahmyr Gibbs is a first round pick. 3 in 4 he falls. And if he falls from there, I mean, why couldn't he fall to 50? You know, it's probably unlikely, but there's a real chance it happens, especially the way running backs work. And then you throw in the chance that like Devon A-Chain passes him because he's so fast. And just weird stuff can happen.
So I fear, and I think he's the first for all of us.
Absolutely.
So you can just put that in, Alyssa.
Yeah.
I fear that it's going to be very similar to Javonte Williams. What position was Javonte Williams picked at?
36?
6?
Yeah, something like that.
Something in those range. And what happens is day one ends, and everyone has a chance to go back and regroup and look at their boards and reevaluate the players. And I fear that someone that's sitting around 45 is going to look up at that board and say, man, we got to get Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, it's too... He's just sitting there. He's so talented. He's so good. He's so fast. He's so strong. We got to go get him. And someone will jump up into the very early second round, if not even like the first pick of the second round, to get Jahmyr Gibbs. It's just there's something about that break that allows teams to like think clearly and be like, we can't let this guy sit here all day. So that's my fear. But if he's there, you have to entertain the idea of going and getting him. Once again, we have to say this as a disclaimer. This doesn't mean that we don't like Javonte Williams.
Exactly. No, but Jahmyr Gibbs would be a fantastic, the best compliment you can have to Javonte Williams in 2024 and 2025. Jahmyr Gibbs would also be an excellent addition to Samaje Perine and take that running back room this year with Javonte Williams still not healthy to be a really good room in the NFL right away. That's why he makes so much sense. Is we're not saying, well, if Javonte comes back, then they're kind of getting the same guy. Doesn't really. No, Jahmyr Gibbs makes so much sense. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously a fantastic receiver, excellent when he gets out in space as a runner as well. He can also run in between the tackles pretty darn well. Is he a guy that you're going to run in between the tackles 20 times a game? Obviously not. That would be his weak side of the game. But then Javonte Williams, that's his best. So they just complement each other so well. And that's why he's not going to be there at 67. He's not going to be there at 50. Ryan, I'm kind of right there with you. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, if he's not gone in the first round, he's gone in the first 3 to 5 picks in the second round. And we talk about, well, if the Broncos package both of their picks this year, how far can they get up? They can get to like 38, 39, 40. What if they also include a Courtland Sutton in those 2 third-round picks? If they want to be ultra-aggressive, maybe that's counted as another third-round pick, a 4th, a 5th-round pick. Maybe that can move them up into the mid-30s, something like that. And potentially that's when you get Jahmyr Gibbs and you sell yourself on it, because the Broncos have been okay with the idea of getting rid of one of their wide receivers, but you're not doing it at the expense of just losing someone on offense. You're gaining a playmaker there. So I think the Broncos are going to be as aggressive as possible to get Jahmyr Gibbs. I really think that. And unfortunately, though, I do think there's going to be some heartache to this, especially with all 3 of us putting him as number 1, because I think Gibbs this week so far has gained the most national praise of any person in the draft. Peter King said that some teams view him as the best running back in the draft over Bijan Robinson. Probably just a few teams, but still a few teams are have that out there. You have some national stories going around about how good of a teammate, how much of a heart and soul Jahmyr Gibbs is. And I think there's going to be 2 running backs gone in the first round.
There's a chance. And I'll say, like, if it comes down to it, 2/3 in Sutton, way too much for me. I could do like 2/3 for Devon A-Chain. Sounds a lot better than 2/3 in Sutton for Jahmyr Gibbs. And I don't even think you'd have to trade up for A-Chain. But there is a line for me. I'm not willing to go crazy.
My value on Courtland Sutton is pretty low, so if you love Jahmyr Gibbs, I would certainly consider it. Really quick, in a Madden ratings draft, does Bijan Robinson go number 1 overall?
Madden ratings.
Probably Will Anderson.
Okay.
But close. He's right up there.
Yeah, I think so. Probably. You probably also have Jalen. It's probably Jalen Carter, Will Anderson.
Jalen Carter might be first, too.
And Bijan.
Yeah.
Also, did
and
you
Bryce
see...
Young wouldn't be far off. Skoronski also. Skoronski would also be way up there for that.
Actually, I'll save the thing I was just going to bring up for the next segment so we can move on in the trade-up candidates here. All right, who you got second, Hank?
It's actually in the chat too. Darnell Washington.
Ooh.
You know, this is another one that might be
talk about a heavy-handed tight end. You want a third tackle out there?
Woo. Like that's, and then you throw in like the athletic traits and some of the plays we think he can make. He didn't do all that much as a receiver in college, but he was one who was like a lock to be a first-round pick a month or so ago. But now, he's plus 900 to be the first tight end drafted. Plus 330 to be the second behind Kincaid, who's a favorite there. So if he really is the third tight end off the board, that could be round pick 40 or even later, really. And if he does fall to the second round, he's one where, like, if you want to give up Courtland Sutton in 2/3 is still a crazy steep price. Again, like we just went through that draft trade chart. Like you should be expecting top 5 pick production for that to balance out, which is a ridiculous expectation. Still, like, Darnell Washington is just like a monster, and the vibes are saying he could slip a little bit.
So it sounds like maybe you're willing to give up even a little more for Darnell Washington than Gibbs.
I think so, yeah.
So wouldn't he be 1?
I think it's less likely.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
I think I would much rather just do like a standard trade up and go get Jahmyr Gibbs than say like we're selling the farm to go get Darnell Washington, which is what I think you'd have to do.
Sure, very fair.
Be cooler if you made him number 1 though.
It would be.
Yeah,
It would be.
it would be cool.
Is Darnell Washington the most physically imposing player in this draft?
Yeah, in the first off the bus rankings.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's your number 1 in an NFL team, like right away.
Yeah, what is he? 6'7"? 7.
Yeah.
He's massive.
Yeah. He is huge.
The video of him on the sled at the combine just tells you everything you need to know. You're seeing the other guys, they're hitting it and lift it.
Yep.
He damn near just throws the thing right out of Lucas Oil Stadium.
And he probably would have had a lot more production if they didn't have the number 1 tight end in next year's draft on their team as well. So, a great player. I do think he's probably gone, especially with those physical traits, somewhere in the first.
Yeah.
Bowers is like top 5 maybe next year.
Yeah. Not tight end, like picks in the draft.
Top 5 pick.
Exactly, yeah. I knew what you meant. I'm going to go a different route here. Try to be responsible. I get my little sexy pick with Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going John Michael Schmidt. Center out of Minnesota. Schmitz, yep, John Michael Schmitz.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmitz.
That will be his nickname when the Broncos draft him. But I talked about you either want playmaker, a.k.a. Jahmyr Gibbs to move up for, or an instant day 1 starter at especially a position of need. That's what you get here. To me, this would be well worth moving up because I think he's just that day 1 starter where you feel very comfortable.
Is he your number 1 center on the board?
Slightly, yes. Yes. I think I have 2 that are neck and neck, and not to be a spoiler alert, but that's who my number 3 is going to be.
I'm going 2 centers.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going center here too, and I'm going with my personal favorite. And I have to harken back to our good friend Chris Sims, who said they're going to get the biggest group of big fuckers they can find up front. So give me the biggest one of the bunch, Steve Avila.
Very true.
6'6", 330, and just an absolute beast. Imagine the size and willpower of this offensive line going Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Steve Avila, Quinn Meinertz, and Mike McGlinchey on the edge. I think that's something that Sean Payton really values is just meat up front.
Yep.
And Steve Avila absolutely brings that. So he's kind of a polarizing draft prospect.
He is.
Some people maybe not as high on them. He's definitely my favorite, so give me him. And, he did it. The TCU offense is kind of a perfect example of getting a guy who can do both. Because they're an air raid offense, but they also ran the ball a lot.
Yeah.
So he was moving people up front and also holding his weight going backwards or not going backwards at all.
Yeah, and I really like Steve Avila. Is what maybe a reason people are down on him is since he didn't have a one position throughout all of his time at TCU, people knock him for that. But
that makes me like him more.
that can show versatility as well. I really like Steve Avila. He's not going to be my number 3, but I would still be okay with the trade up for him.
Yeah, and the fact that you two have those two and my favorite center is a different center is why none of them make my board, because I'm willing to take really any of them.
Tippmann.
Yeah, that's just the length and size, and like he was good too, so I think he'd be my number 1, but I decided not to again just because there's so many of those. I'm going to go with...
As I said in our pick'em this week, or our roundtable, it's a very middle-heavy center class.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for the Broncos.
Yeah, it is.
Unless people start reaching.
Right.
Yep. I'm going with Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback from Mississippi State. He's a tough one for me because, what was he at Combine? 6'1", 166. That's a small guy. That is a really skinny guy. But you watch him play, like, I guess I should pull up the 40 time too. I think it was a 4.35.
Did you say 166?
166.
That is
But he's just so
nuts.
wiry. The burst is insane. Like, he can run with any receiver in the NFL. Like, the way
Ronnie McClain is coming in to see you at like 165, and that's
listed
that's like
165
tiny for Division I football.
Yes.
Broke up 6 passes last year, 6 picks last year, brought 3 of them back for touchdowns. Like, he's just a freak athlete, and he might be too small, but I don't know. This is another position where, like, I'm not totally sold on trading up for corner, because you could also say, like, trade up for Deonte Banks, because he's maybe lower upside, but also is built like an actual football player. Like, DJ Turner. DJ Turner? Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
He's another one who's just like crazy fast, too small. So there are a few
Clark
of these
Phillips
guys.
the third.
Yeah, he's
Smaller
not
guy.
as fast, but he at least is like built out. Like he
Right.
kind of looks like Chris Harris out there, where it's like you are like built like a human and not a spider. So he has that going for him. But again, like he doesn't do it for me. He's a lot farther down the draft board. So Emmanuel Forbes, he makes my list. He might just be insane.
Yeah, and I think
He
if
might just get mauled.
He might be.
If he had
so
25
long.
more pounds on him, which is just an insane thing
Yeah.
to say.
That's like 40% more weight.
Right, exactly. Or
Exactly.
even 20 pounds, which is nuts
Yeah.
to say because of how much it is. He'd be like a surefire for sure.
Yeah, he'd be the first corner off the board.
Yeah, yeah.
But
He's
that's-
got like
skinny.
a couple pounds on Zach.
Right,
Yeah, for the first time ever, though, last year receivers weighed less than 200 pounds on average in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, they just keep getting smaller and faster. Not down to 166, but he's so long, too.
But the worry for me is if he's still 166, it tells me he's not capable of getting bigger.
Right, like 175 is kind of where you're hoping he gets to 180, and that's
yeah.
small.
I don't know
for-
that you want to put too much weight on him, though. Like, that's just how he plays. Like, you don't want to lose. As soon as you lose the burst, then what's the point? Like, what you like about him is that he's so quick, incredibly fast, just the best playmaking cornerback in the draft. And you love putting that opposite Pat Surtain. So you're not willing to lose a step of quickness, in my opinion, for another 10, 15 pounds. Like, you put him in the weight room, but you're not trying to bulk him up. You're not saying go home and eat a big bowl of Alfredo every night.
Yeah, I'm just like, in the run game,
Yeah.
that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, 166.
You can only play him on the boundary. That's for sure.
Right. And teams that, can just go at that and, whoever's out there, let's just say it's the Broncos, like, what happens when they line up Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna get smashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he can't be good.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
a lot of times I think we get too caught up in that and what people can't do. Don't
Yep.
think enough about what they can do. He can do a lot.
He
Yeah.
can. He, again, 6 interceptions last year. 3 of them returned for touchdowns.
Yeah,
Like, the man is a
Playmaker.
freak. A crazy long arms.
How tall is he?
6'1".
Okay.
Like, he's just, and he jumps too. Like, in terms of cover corners, there just aren't many better.
yeah, and
I would be excited if they took him. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong.
yeah.
But that's a scary low number.
And
man.
that,
It is.
that's a reason why he may fall, though.
Exactly.
As a first-round talent, but teams being not just scared of 166, but being scared of what Ryan said. Can he put on 15 more pounds,
No.
or is it 4 more pounds? And then can he really play at 170? That's a big question. And teams do get scared by size.
I promise you, since the day he got to college, they were trying to bulk him up. And if he's still at 166,
Yeah.
it means that it did not work.
Yeah, it's very true. All right, Ryan, who's your number 3?
Some people are going to hate this.
Uh-oh.
But also, like, 75% of Broncos Twitter is Iowa fans, so they probably won't be that
I
mad.
know where
Yeah.
you're going.
Give me Jack Campbell.
Oh.
I love Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Jack Campbell. And if you have to trade up a little bit to go get this guy, I will be so happy. Josie Jewell has 1 year left on his contract. You're getting bigger, faster, stronger Josie Jewell, younger, cheaper.
And Iowa Josie Jewell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same, same background or similar background. I don't know if Jack Campbell was roping cows or whatever that Josie was doing.
Yeah.
But I'm just, I don't know. He's one of my favorite players in the whole draft.
I mean, he's a damn good football player.
Yep.
And in college, he's going to be that in the NFL as well. So
This is a guy like the Ravens get, and we're all like,
right.
How did the
did
Ravens get this guy?
Exactly. That would be a good pick. But again, I'm going back to the trenches. I'm going center. I am gonna go with Joe Tippmann here. Like I said, he's kind of my
So Steve Avila is your third.
Yeah, Steve Avila is my third, but again, I would still be happy with Steve Avila. So I really like these 3 guys here. And Joe Tippmann, I love the physical tools that he has, but also one of the things that he has is just, according to everyone, he's just got that mental capability to be the center. So you're not going to have to worry about that. And you talked about it with Steve Avila having that size. Joe Tippmann's size is a little different, 6'6". 310, and sometimes you are concerned about a center being too big, but I didn't show his height coming to bite him like consistently. So I would just, you get an instant starter there. And now maybe the good news is if there are 3 guys that you're comfortable with, or at least that I'm comfortable with, you could sit back and maybe one of them falls to 67, or you sit back at 67, then one of them goes at 60, then you trade a 5th round pick in order to get up 5 spots to get one of these guys.
I want to track something I said because I said bigger, faster, stronger version of Josie Jewell. It's almost impossibly stronger than Josie Jewell.
That is true.
Yeah,
that my thing is, I don't know if he's that much better that he changes what you can do. So like, he's better in coverage. I don't think that all of a sudden you're saying like, go play man, you know? Like you're not telling him like run the middle of the field in Tampa 2.
Like he's the Travis Kelce killer.
Exactly. So like he'll be better.
There's no such thing.
That is also true. That is crazy. Everybody always wants to find one. But yeah, like Jack Campbell's really good. I don't know that he opens a bunch of doors for the Broncos in terms of what you do.
I think he has all pro potential. So
okay,
I think that there's a pretty big gap.
Man, outside of punter and kicker, if you can get an all pro in the 2nd round, that's kind of hard to pass up trading up for.
That's true.
Also, there's just like no narrative that I want to push back harder on than the inside linebacker isn't that valuable one.
Yeah. But again, it's the guys who can really cover. The guys who give you the versatility to just play man with tight ends.
So go trade for Devin White.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay him.
For sure. I don't know, man. 6'6". He's got like a 9.8 RAS.
Yeah, but again, but like a lot of that's the height too.
For sure, yeah. I mean, that helps. But I just mean like you're getting an insanely athletic, huge inside linebacker. And even just from a coverage standpoint, just putting him in the middle and just having him stand there and goes like this is much more effective than Josie Jewell.
Definitely. But you still ask him to do the same thing. Like it doesn't change your scheme. Open doors for you.
For cheaper and at a higher level, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Man, 6'5", he's a beast.
He is a beast.
And I don't even think you need to cut Josie Jewell because I know you can save whatever $5 million for doing that.
Yeah.
Just keep him and, bring up Jack Campbell slowly.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you draft Jack Campbell, I want him to start day one, especially alongside another really good linebacker like Alex Singleton. I would say
I'm in on that. But I'm just saying you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can have 3 very good inside linebackers.
Does Singleton have to change the linebacking core's nickname if they cut Josie? Or can it just be replaced
just
with
new
another?
Bash brother?
Wow. We just went younger.
He's like, oh, Josie's gone. I didn't even notice. New Iowa guy.
He grew a couple of inches and new Iowa guy. Man, I feel really bad about not getting one more guy in here. But the reason that I didn't put Hendon Hooker in here in my top 3 was there was just a little too much thought in my head that he could go top 15. And it's kind of like, well, sure, wouldn't you like to have like Bryce Young trade up for? So
how could he go top 15 if he can't play this year?
Just because of if he finds
really
the right situation, a team, probably not the Jets. That would just be like ridiculous if they did that after getting Aaron Rodgers. But a team like that where they have an older quarterback and they can get who they think is a top quarterback. Just he falls and he also needs a year. But again, like, if he's not going to go in the first round, then I definitely want him in my top 3. Like if you're saying that he's somewhere in the 40s, yeah, I would put him in my top 3, absolutely.
I think that like a really bad team should select Hendon Hooker, and then they'll be really bad again because they don't get the guy, and then next year they can draft Caleb Williams and just see what happens.
So the Texans, you're saying the Texans?
But that's too high.
No, draft him in the 2nd.
Oh yeah.
Like with the first, take Will Anderson or something.
Yep.
Then the 2nd, Hendon Hooker. Well, could make sense. Some other guys that I just want to throw out there, especially I believe Jose was saying someone needs to trade up for an edge. The edge guys, no one, it's either like a top guy in the draft or I think it's kind of just a group yeah. And so that's why I could definitely see the Broncos taking an edge. I just haven't fallen in love with one, so I couldn't put that on here. We've talked about a couple of them. B.J. Ojulari from LSU, really, really good bend, impressive. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough trading up from, especially just where the Broncos' edge position is right now. You would have to get a guy that you love in order to say, okay, you're going to play over Baron Browning, or once touching wood, Randy Gregory gets hurt, then you guys are going to play alongside. It's just a little awkward for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and that's where I almost included Lucas Van Ness there. Like, there's a chance he falls. He's probably still a first-round pick, and that's why I didn't.
Yeah, that's why I didn't either.
Yep. Nolan Smith is another one who, if they hadn't drafted Nick Bonito last year, he absolutely would be on this list. But he's also like just a small speed edge rusher, like a 4.39 40. Like, he could wind up being Micah Parsons.
That's nuts.
Or he could just be another Nick Bonito, and that's why I was like, I'm not willing to trade up for him.
I also think he's probably going top 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the list really quick. And I want to ask you this. Who is the least likely to have to trade up for?
Man, I want to say Emmanuel Forbes off the top of my head just because of his size, but I'm going to say one of the centers.
Yeah.
Which of the
Right,
three?
because there's three. The only thing I worry about is, like, if someone takes Schmitz in the late first round.
Yeah.
Then someone in the early second round is like, man, we got to get that center. So they take, let's just say, Avila.
Yeah.
Then late second round, someone, and like all of a sudden they're all gone. So that, like, all it takes is that first pin to drop.
It's true.
And it changes everything. If no one picks center in the first round and a half, then you're starting to feel comfortable about one of these guys falling to 67 or 68.
Right. And specifically, I would go with Steve Avila, the most likely to fall, just because I really like him.
Yep.
But just like you said, there's kind of some polarizing things there about him. I don't know why some people have him as like the 100th best prospect. I think that's way off, but I think there's just maybe more variance with him than any of these other guys.
I think it's the positional stuff. It seems like consensus now is that he should play guard. And I haven't dug too deep into why, because that seems like in the last week it's like guard. He's not a center. But I would guess it's just like length. But even that, he seems like he would be plenty long enough. I don't know. But it is weird that people don't like him that much.
Maybe he's just so big that, people see him a little bit more as a guard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you do get those lighter.
Exactly.
What's his on the Broncos right now?
Who?
The guy they drafted last year.
Oh, Wattenberg? Yeah. Anytime I hear the name Wattenberg, all I can picture is Dalton Reisner after a play on, like, during a game, goes over and just shows him how to block, like what he did.
Oh,
it was
my
like
goodness.
an animation on Madden gone wrong. And it's tough to get that out of your mind.
It is really
That
tough.
is tough.
What's not tough is our friends over at FOCO. We've got so many cool things on the set right now. And if you want to get pretty much anything we have on the set, check out our friends over at FOCO, where they're going to hook it up. Whether you're looking for a little cool commemorative helmet, or a pennant, or a bobblehead, or shirts, or so many different cool things. They've got it all, not just for Broncos, Rockies, Nuggets, Avs, they have it all. And if you use the code DNVR over at FOCO, you're going to get 10% off. So check them out. FOCO, use that code DNVR. Not only great for yourself, but the place to get a gift for someone that even just semi-likes sports in your life. It's a place to go. So check them out. FOCO, use that code DNVR.
And also, if somebody has harmed you, call 222-2222 to connect with Backus and Schenker. They are the best personal injury attorneys in Colorado. They've won over $1 billion for their clients in Colorado. They've got more than 30 lawyers on staff, and they serve the whole state with offices in Denver, Aurora, Inglewood, and Fort Collins. There's no fee if you call them. There's no fee unless they win your case, and when they do, that's when they get their cut. They've been around for more than 25 years. And again, like if you've been hurt in a car accident or a motorcycle accident or with ride shares or pedestrians, trucks, or injured at work, call 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free.
I have a question for you guys. How many seconds and or minutes do you think I spend on this show each week talking about Coach Prime?
Oh, wow. 15?
15 seconds?
Minutes.
15 minutes per week?
Maybe not that much.
I would say 2.5 minutes per week.
Okay,
that's
more.
I was
along the lines
thinking. I was
of,
thinking 7 shows.
usually
not
before
5.
and after the show, I'm talking about that with you guys.
That is true.
Yeah.
I just had to ask because someone said they stopped listening because this show turned into a Coach Prime worship pod.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I was like, man, I don't think.
I mean, there's another
It was
and a half
definitely
right there.
it was definitely either a CSU or a Nebraska fan.
Oh, probably.
Okay, now that I've cleared that up, I'd like to talk about Coach. I was just thinking yesterday as they were just like cleaning house, like, man, I wish I could do this with the Broncos.
Oh, just please
just
leave.
Like move out a bunch of players, bring in a bunch of different ones.
What would that be? It's like you would ask every player to retire that you didn't want.
Yeah.
Would you retire, please?
Or like, yeah, it's hard with the contracts.
Yeah. And then like their contract kind of goes void a little bit, and you're like, don't worry, we're not gonna like tell people that you unretire to go sign with another team.
I just want the NFL transfer portal.
Man, that free agency, I guess, but you're stuck with the contract.
Yep, exactly.
Man, can they pull scholarships?
Not really. They can highly encourage you to transfer.
Okay. So that's forced retirement for NFL players.
Yeah. Okay, anyways. The one other thing I wanted to ask you guys is, did you see this Reddit post changing the Will Levis draft odds?
Oh, yes, I did.
Wow. He went from plus 4,500 to plus 450 overnight to go number 1 overall because some guy on Reddit said he was going to go number 1 overall.
Wow. Because what was it? The Reddit post said Will Levis is telling his family that he's being drafted by the Panthers.
Yeah.
Incredible, the power that the internet can have.
It's so crazy to think that like that person could have made that up 100%.
Yep.
And like completely impacted the betting markets.
Man, do you think like his ex had wanted to like buy Will Levis stock or something, and she's like, I'm gonna put the bet in, or he's like, I'm gonna put the bet in tomorrow. The person's like, yeah, well, you're gonna get terrible odds. Let me put this out first.
Damn, that's crazy. Or like, what if someone who had it at plus 4,500 just put that out there to get it up to get a buyout?
Right, that'd be smart. Yeah, Will Levis family members, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
They probably don't need money.
That's
they won't
very
soon.
true. Yeah, they won't soon. Speaking of which, let's jump into our player profile series. Let's hop into a candidate. Is this the first running back we've talked about?
It is.
Outside of, obviously,
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, there are a couple that come up quite a bit. But yeah, Zach Charbonnet started at Michigan, played quite a bit as a freshman, didn't play so much as a sophomore, and then transfers to UCLA. He's a massive running back. I think he came in at 6 foot 217. Oh, we have it right there, 214, which is, again, at the combine. So by the time you're actually going and playing after spending a summer in an NFL strength program, that's a 220-pound running back. Not the fastest running back. I think ran like a 4.53.
Yep.
That's really fast for how big he is.
For how big he is, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's why like he could be the pick at 67. You know, kind of a weird fit, but just incredibly productive in college. 1,100 yards in 2021, 1,359 in 2022. About 500 total, or no. About 500 total receiving yards over those 2 years, 27 touchdowns over those 2 years. Ran for 7 yards per carry this year.
Insane.
Didn't have a game under 5 yards per carry.
Wow.
Like, the man is just consistent, whether he actually can be like a big play threat or anything more than just like at the very least, he's a rotational back who can pick up short yardage. He should probably be able to play the first 2 downs and might come off the field on thirds.
This is Javonte Booker 2.0.
That's good.
And you look at Javonte Booker coming out, pretty much the exact same size. And when I watch the tape of Zach Charbonnet, it's the exact same as Javonte Booker. He's
burying this guy.
No, I mean Javonte Booker.
Does he run into the ass of his center on every play?
That's honestly my biggest concern with him is running in between the tackles isn't his strength, and a big in terms of being able to read. If there's a gaping hole, he could hit that, just like Javonte Booker could hit that. But that's my biggest concern with him is the ability to run in between the tackles. And as Henry mentioned, he's a power guy. He's a massive guy. And I've actually would honestly take the opposite approach as Henry. I think he's more of kind of a third down guy. For a big guy, he's got really good hands coming out of the backfield. The production as a runner, too, and as a receiver out of the backfield, really impressive. He's this guy that can be elusive out of a tackle in open space and then truck a guy over, but I'm just too worried about in between the tackles. So he scares me as a guy that you would draft in the third to kind of be that dude, just because it doesn't really add up, and I'm just a little scared of his running abilities between the tackles.
For what it's worth, Javonte Booker had 4.7 yards per carry as a senior at Utah. 7 for Charbonnet. So there is like a
but
production difference.
in college, production doesn't always transfer over into
True.
the NFL.
Still Pac-12.
Also,
though.
Javonte tore his ACL. I don't know how early in that season it was.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, in his senior year.
Yeah.
He played 10 games.
And Devonte, 4th round pick, so maybe I should say Charbonnet a better Devonte Booker.
So for me, it's just too redundant. These guys are always hard for me to evaluate because he destroyed CU.
Yep.
So
I saw that. That's for sure.
all I can remember is him just like stiff arming guys in the hole, finishing runs,
yeah.
like scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I think he's really good.
Yeah.
But big back, we don't need more big backs. I would prefer to see the Broncos get a more dynamic player if they're going to draft a running back. That being said, maybe you just say like, well, he's just good enough that he's going to start for us, and we're cool with that. So if you were to draft Charbonnet at 67, I would expect him to start over Samaje Perine.
Definitely.
Yeah, any running back that you draft in the 3rd round or higher should be the starter.
I don't know, because I think like Devon A-Chain could be the guy, and he's just coming out on 3rd downs, you know?
Man,
So like if you're starting the shotgun, then maybe.
He
Same
better
thing
be
with
incredible
Gibbs.
then.
Gibbs, you'd probably 3rd down back and splitting some of those reps. I wouldn't be surprised if the first snap is under center and they give it to Perine.
I maybe for like a true starting perspective,
Oh.
but I think Jahmyr Gibbs, if you bring him in, Jahmyr is probably getting 60% of the reps.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, I think if you pick a guy that early, they should be better than Samaje Perine.
Do you? I agree. Do you celebrate drafting Charbonnet with a nice Chardonnay?
Well,
bet
I
they
mean, I
would.
wouldn't drink that. No.
John Elway might.
That's very true. Hey, check out what is it? Sevens Winery.
Something like that. 874 RAS, just because I've said that with every guy we've gone through. So want to make sure we stay consistent.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Very solid. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was one of my favorites, I think, because his freshman year at
37-inch
Michigan, I can't remember who the other back at Michigan was, but he was a draft prospect, like a late round guy. But Charbonnet was sick. Second year didn't play, but then when he transferred to UCLA, I was hyped. He was one of the Pac-12 guys that every week you're just like, oh, I can't wait to watch him play. Like I had to vote for him for like player of the week a lot of times. But yeah, sick. And then got even better this year. So I really like him. Again, like Ryan said, probably a little speed back makes more sense given what the Broncos have. But if the Broncos get him, I'm going to be hyped. Because again, like you're looking at like a Nick Chubb style back, like the Derrick Henry style back is what I'm looking at. Probably doesn't get to those heights, but where do those guys get drafted? It's not like you knew coming out that those guys were freaks.
I knew Derrick Henry was a freak. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
I
little
don't
different.
know how he
Second
felt
round
it.
pick, though.
I don't know how that happened. And going into that, I don't know how that happened.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And
There are
that's
some-
why
yeah.
Bijan Robinson won't fall. Not that
Right.
he's the same as Derrick Henry,
Right.
but now there's
Yeah.
just like this. That Derrick Henry was in the peak of like running backs don't matter.
Yeah.
And people got
True.
lost in
Especially his type.
people got confused with running backs shouldn't be paid a bunch with running backs don't matter, and that's how someone like Derrick
Yeah.
Henry falls to the second. But that won't happen anytime soon.
No, it won't. And how about this? What if you go Charbonnet 67, you go DTR 68, and then you pair him up with Greg Dulcich from last year? You'd be running UCLA's offense.
You might make a bowl game.
Wow.
Oh, man. Oh, the 5 wins. Maybe they can get there. Well, no, they got there last year.
Yes, they did, but that was without Dulcich.
That is true. Should we hop into? So I meant the Broncos got to 5 wins. Yeah, barely. Shall we hop into some comments really quick?
Yes.
Got Ricker Bohr saying, "Is it just me, or have the Jeudy and Sutton trade rumors been sizzled out? Would a possible trade happen before the draft or during?"
Sizzled out sounds like something Zach would say.
It does sound a lot like what Zach would
It
say.
did feel awkward.
Yeah, there was a Peter King report today that I saw you tweet out, Zach, that essentially it's dead unless someone blows their mind.
Yeah, things have not changed. I know, and I haven't talked about it much, but if something is going to happen, it was going to be dormant for many weeks, like it has been, and it's going to ramp up either Thursday during the draft, during the first round, if they're trading Jeudy, trade would happen, and then the Broncos would make that pick with that pick that they just got, likely in the late 20s with a team that obviously needs a wide receiver, or just keep an eye out all of Friday. You probably won't see anything happen with the trade until the Broncos would be trading for that pick, but they would have worked something out Friday during the day and said, if our guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, is there with this team, then we'll trade with you. So it'll probably happen during the draft if a trade's going to happen.
Cool. Anything on the website?
We got 2 quick comments. The Count says, would you take this deal? You are guaranteed that Hank's Kansas City squad will never win another playoff game, but in order to do so, you cement a history wherein the Broncos will win one and only one more Super Bowl in your lifetime.
No.
Love
way.
the Count.
No way in hell.
No way.
I don't care what the Chiefs do. All I care about is the Broncos. I'm not limiting them.
And we've had 3 in our lifetime so far.
We're averaging 1 per decade.
So essentially you're betting on your lifetime lasting more than 1 decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that on this pace, they're getting 5 more on average.
Okay, would you take this deal? Okay, I think I know you will. The Broncos and Chiefs win every Super Bowl from here on out. In revert, it just flipped.
Wait,
Absolutely.
They just
trade.
that would be the greatest rivalry in sports.
It really
history.
would be. Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And last one coming in from Nash Broncos says, fellas, the most annoying trade of the offseason is finally complete. Do we think Rodgers and Hackett get booed in Denver this year?
They should.
Yeah, they're getting booed. I forgot going up to that Buffs tailgate. I was like, yeah, I ran into Carl. Like, kind of saying, like, oh, did you flip him off? And I was like, oh my God. Like, it's just people we can realize. Yeah, like, some of us might think, like, yeah, Hackett's a nice guy. Like, hope the best for him. The overwhelming number of people is just going to be like, no, F that guy. I hope. I'm not even going to say the things they would
Hackett's
hope.
a nice guy and boo him.
I honestly, but when are you gonna boo him? They don't announce an offensive coordinator. You know,
Starting at offensive coordinator
that
for the
would be,
visiting
that
New York
would be
Jets.
so good. They should, but they don't.
They might get a shot on him running out of the tunnel or something.
That they really should. What I see happening more, and what would be hilarious, is if they count down the play clock when Aaron Rodgers is on the field.
Oh, that would be good.
Wow,
You know,
that would be incredible. They should do it like when we were in high school. Whenever the other team had the ball and there was 10 seconds, we would start counting down from 5.
Yeah. That would be
Get
great.
him to rush.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would kind of be a troll that the crowd could get into.
That's always so funny when it works, too.
Oh,
Right,
I know.
right.
Some fadeaway chunk
There's
it
a
off with 5
hilarious
seconds
one
left.
of like there's like 13 seconds on the clock and this guy takes a full court shot.
A lot of people, though, agree with you guys. A lot of people think that game has Week 1 Monday Night Football written all over it.
Yeah.
It could.
And we will actually find out the schedule 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Yep. All right. Av show coming up right after
Let's
this.
go.
Hey, AJ, give us one word for Cale Makar's suspension.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Tune into the Avs to listen more. We'll see you guys later.